Well, welcome everyone. Glad to see you all here for customer acquisition today. I'll kind of go over what we're going to do today and then we'll get right on it, okay? Let me get, I know we did names earlier, but tell me your name. Well, I'll start over here since you're. Yeah.
Diana Marquis, and my company is DM Group Consulting. I work with nonprofits on fundraising and board governance.
Awesome, okay.
Kay Shaw, founder of Sales Enablement Strategies, and what I do is look for new technology and help them find customers, partners, and investors.
Oh, wow, awesome, okay.
My name is Mary Nagler. I have a software startup.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a kind of document management system. It's
Excellent.
an all-in-one automated document solution that takes you from creation to signature.
Okay, awesome. Well, great. Great to have you all here again and to see you. So sort of like, close up the introductions from earlier this morning, I'm Carlos Martinez, and my career was in consulting for a while in PricewaterhouseCoopers and a company called EDS. Anybody remembers EDS? I started at EDS. So yeah, so I started at EDS, then went to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and then did a series of startups, and then ran an enterprise software company using SAP, if anybody knows SAP, for 15 years. And then I sold that one to Capgemini, so I'm a consulting firm. And then I started a new one that I'm running right now. So I started one before that, closed shop on that, and started this one now. So I made my second iteration after the last iteration. So it's all about iterating. It's all about doing it, experimenting, testing. So that's kind of like what we're going to talk about from acquiring customers even. How do we test?
What's your new venture? What is your new?
It's a freelance platform, a freelancers platform. So we bring contract staff to companies in the oil and gas space. So people like accountants or IT personnel, we match them up with companies' requests through an online platform.
Okay, so an HR marketplace.
Yes, a marketplace,
For
yeah.
oil and gas.
Yes. So like a similar model, I don't know if you've heard of Upwork. It's a big freelancing platform, or TopTal. It's kind of that model, but we work in a specific niche. Okay. All right. So yeah, we're on it. We're like in the middle of it, and it's there's a response. So when we get a response, we're excited and we keep pushing. That's the idea, right? That's the idea. So today, we'll talk about customer acquisition, and I'll talk about this idea of demand creation, which you probably all know, but just kind of like talk through, what are some of those activities, and then we'll talk about acquiring and activating customers, the way that we look at this at SMU. And then we'll do a small workshop for you to take something with you, so it's more practical, okay? So all these things, you might have done some of it, you might have done, different variations. So it's kind of an open discussion. This is stuff that we do, right? Trying to get customers.
Yeah.
I have to say, start off by saying, I don't know about you, but it's like a pain to get customers. I don't know what the discussions are. I tell you this, I know there's discussions about all sorts of things, but I'm like, when we talked about this kind of scenarios, and I teach this at SMU, this is part of my course, I always say, I tell my students, without customers, we're nothing. So I don't know what we're talking about anything else. Let's stop talking about how we can get customers. If you think fundamentally, it's like, if you take a step back, finance, this other cool stuff, it's like, if I don't have customers, I'm done. So it's really, really a big deal, and I have to say, it's just really, really hard. And so you all can relate to it. You all can relate to how hard it is to get customers. Even if you get some customers, the continuity of customers, to keep customers, to grow customers. We'll talk about those techniques here in a moment. It's just one of the most critical activities that I see. So, okay. So, let's see, from a demand creation perspective. So let me ask you, like some things that you maybe are doing or have been doing to acquire customers. And to define that, which is pretty intuitive, but what are some of the things that you might do to get customers, to attract customers to your business? What have you done so far so that I can take a checkpoint in terms of repeating material?
Offer something free.
Free, okay. So do you have an example? Have you done this?
Yes.
Okay, what have you done?
Yes, and well, what I've done, I started a series of free half-hour training,
Yeah.
or workshops, or whatever you call it.
Great.
Called Free Fridays.
Yeah.
They're at noon every Friday for half an hour.
Nice.
Started it the first Friday of May, and I have a person helping me who handles my database and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So we have, I think we're coming up to around 1,500 names on our
Yeah.
LinkedIn
In your
and
database. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she markets that, and so it's, like I said, we've been doing it a month now. And she says that we get somewhere between 15 and 20 people sign up, and we end up with about a third of those. So very consistently, we've had, between, 6, 7, or 8 people each time. This past Friday, I did it by myself because she went on vacation, which was very rude. But there was some, and I didn't know this until one of the people who were there said, well, we got the email with the link, but there was one link at the top and one at the bottom. This one didn't work, and only by chance that I found it. So I think we might have lost some people on that one. But that, just very quickly, the idea of doing this came about because I do workshops for Center for Nonprofit Management. And so I did this workshop, and people had questions afterwards, and which of course I helped them with. But then I thought, I could. This is something I could do, because it's knowledge, that I have. It's only half an hour.
Yeah.
People can do it at lunch. It's
Absolutely.
Friday. Why not?
Yeah.
So I have a plan or whatever. I'm committed to doing it through the summer.
Good. I like
And
that.
we'll see. And maybe I'll just even keep doing it.
Yeah.
But, so that's one thing. I haven't gotten anybody yet from it, but the last one that I did, the people who came were the executive directors, the chief development officers, and those are the people that would hire a consultant.
Yeah, that would hire. So you're building your marketing.
Right.
database, Yeah.
So I need to remember that because the others were more kind of basic
Yeah.
fundraising stuff that the managers would do or some
Mhm.
other person would do.
Different types of customers.
So anyway,
Well, that's great. I mean, I commend you for that. That's a great strategy, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But there's all sorts of things like that. I'm all for this. One good thing about this is that number one, it invites people to get a taste of something. There's also, so if you can do it, especially in our startup phase, which I'm a lean launch guy. I had that session earlier, so I use that term here and there, which means we're starting with very little, very small. So like you said, it's my time. I can put it in. I can get people in, build the database, get pre-orders in, get commitment in, try to move them down the funnel. How can I move? Those are great. Other models here that I don't know if you heard a freemium model. Like if you have a software, like in your case, you can offer it, right?
Yeah.
It's a free version. Have you tried that here? Or no?
We have, right now we have 3 plans.
Okay.
We have a free plan, which is, there's limitations on it to push people to the paying
Yeah.
plans.
Oh, yes.
So
Exactly.
we have 2 other plans after
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. And those are great. How are those working?
So we're just starting. So we're coming out of beta. We're going to be moving kind of into sales.
Excellent.
So I haven't really pushed sales
You
yet,
haven't
but
pushed it
I
out to
kind
the
of need
channels.
to come up with a sales strategy, right? This is why I wanted to attend.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So that's another great way, right? You get them in, and then you push them onto
Yeah.
whatever the subscription is, and
Yeah.
all those kind of things. Very
Yeah, and we've got about 65 users that have been our beta testers and just kind of been using it
good. Okay.
for free. We've got a few paying customers too
Okay.
that we have also.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. And how long have you guys been in?
We launched in March
Okay.
this year.
That's great. Good job. Yeah. Okay. So did you have anything you want to say? Okay. Yeah. So we'll go through some of this, and talk about different techniques. So from a demand creation perspective, different ways that you probably heard about, right? So we're talking about in the very beginning from an entrepreneurial marketing perspective, when we talk about paid media, it can be challenging. So we're trying to develop that plan, like you said, what will your plan look like, and we'll have some of that today. But we know we're gonna have some advertising. We might have some webinars, which is kind of like the seminars that you're doing online or things like that. You have some email marketing campaigns if you can, like by purchasing our email list. I don't know if you have any of that yet, but
Not yet.
okay. So there's data providers that you can buy for a particular demographic, a particular psychographic, these kind of people with these titles, and get those emails and start an email campaign. Okay, we can do that. Online ACM would be your search engine optimization. So in your case, it's going to be important for all of this, but that's not really that costly. But that's something that we want to do as well. But anyway, some of these activities would involve spend, okay, and others we can do more in a nimble way, right? Like we can push your channels, like whatever your customers are going. If it's LinkedIn, I don't know if you're all familiar with LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is one that I use heavily for free posts, and I also pay for LinkedIn ads. But the free posts have been extremely successful. I mean, and you can manage the views on the post, you can manage everything that's going on, you can see what's going, and then kind of manage a pipeline from that. If Facebook is the place where they go, that's another social media channel that you can use. In our case, it's Twitter. I've used Twitter as well, or Instagram. It just depends where your customers are going. Okay. But the point here is that we're talking about paid media, but I always want to qualify by saying, as you're developing that plan, see which ones are the ones that might give you the biggest return, and how much is that going to cost me. So when we say Google Ads, do the due diligence to find out how much that's going to cost. Okay. But don't Google Ads, they're not tremendously expensive, but we want to quantify how much it's going to cost and put it on a budget and know, okay, what are we going to get out of it? What's the runway for the ad? And then measure. We'll talk about metrics, okay? Metrics is important. And I think you said you were doing that in a way, right? Measuring,
Yes.
Yeah, so metrics are key because that's how we're going to find out what's working and what's not working, what we need to eliminate at this phase, okay? We want to do small amounts of spend and say, okay, that's not working, we're not going to spend more time on that, let's move to the next one, okay? So paid media will be one for demand creation, and then free media, which is the one that I've been kind of talking about, social media, but there's also, websites that, could be, helpful in terms of marketplaces. If you can put yourself out there, there could be publications that you could try to send yourself into. Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah. From a paid advertising perspective, we could have a press release. But even before a press release, I'll try to see if I can get in some free media from people that can talk about me. It doesn't hurt. I've had actually even students that have reached out to the news, and all of a sudden they're like calling them back. So you just never know. As entrepreneurs, go out there, try everything. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. But these are earned media, people that will talk about you. Communities are great if it's a community that companies go to. If it's in the software space, accounting space, or nonprofits, or something that there's others in there, it's good to figure out how can I put myself in those communities and network. Okay. And a lot of these activities, at times, they might not have an immediate result, but we're creating awareness. So that's a huge activity, right? So we're going with the mindset of saying, instead of immediately trying to close to get business, I'm trying to create a situation where people know more about us. And the more people that know, the higher the chances that I'm going to get some more customers. Okay?
One of the things that I tried is kind of put on the back burner.
Yeah.
But someone suggested that it was so easy to become the guest of a podcast. And I said, okay, so I looked into it and did all the profiling and all that kind of stuff. Well, as it turned out, it's a place called Podmatch. I don't remember that. Anyway, that this friend of mine suggested that she's been successful with. Well, in Podmatch, it's like all these podcasts, and it's supposed to like help you whatever.
Yeah.
There was no one, nonprofits, philanthropy was not part of their set.
Yeah.
So I communicated with the administrator or whatever and said, this really isn't working for me. I still think it's a good idea. It turned out to be to do the research and to identify the podcasts where I could potentially be a guest was a lot more work than
Yeah, it
I
is.
thought it would be.
Yeah. No, that can be a lot of work.
And on the blogging, so I do I also do a monthly newsletter that goes out to my list.
Yeah.
And we also publish it on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay. That's great.
So.
And that's working out. Yeah. So So yeah, I mean the podcast, yeah, that's interesting. I haven't done. You're right. That can take quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
Have you
It's
talked to, I'm sorry,
good, no, go ahead.
have you talked to Real News PR?
I don't even know who that is. No.
Okay, well, after-
Real News PR.
Yeah, I'll give you their,
Yeah, that's great. So so yeah, I mean all of this is again, you know, we talk about strategy and acquiring customers and all that, but it is about experimenting and seeing what works best for your scenario. So all these things are like, you know, which ones of these do you think are going to be the ones that will resonate with my audiences, and you're going to have to test them. Okay, that I can only say that. There's not a cookbook for it, but nonetheless, this work. I can tell from my experience. We're using. Have you all heard of Wix? The
Yeah.
development, yeah.
Yeah.
So Wix is a website development tool, you know, platform. Extremely easy. I mean, you know, my students have to build a website in like, you know, in 60 minutes they have to build a product in the class, and in like the first 15 they build the landing page, which is the first page that comes up. So it's extremely easy, and Wix comes with all sorts of tools and with it. Email marketing, contact database, contact lists that you can load into it, and once you have them in there, then you can send emails, and it tracks the emails. Do they open them, not open them? Did they click? Did they go into your advertisement? All those kind of things. Okay. So that's one thing to think about, depending on what you're, you know, what you're using for your web, for your front, right, online front. Another one is Google Analytics. Have you all used Google Analytics?
Yes, I haven't, but the person I work with has been using it.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't tell you anything.
Yeah, you know, you're right. So analytics is great. I use a lot more. So what we're doing is like we do email blasts. Okay, so we send campaigns out that are like, you know, really nice emails that go out to like 5,000 people or something. Because in our platform we're trying to get people to sign up as freelancers. So we blast it out and then we get people to sign up.
Yeah.
And people click and all that. So in your case it would be like try the software or something like that. You want to pay for a list, just probably see how much that might cost you. And start with a small list, I would say. Yeah. So that seems to be working okay. Then the social media channel. But on Google Analytics, it's more for the trends. I don't get to hang up, so people get really sophisticated with it. And I can, because I can understand it. But I'm more looking for traffic points. Like, I'm more to say, I tried pushing this out through a channel, like a social media, how much response did I get? And I can eliminate that strategy if I see that it didn't peak. But if it picks up, okay, let's continue that one, you know? And it's really interesting, the insights you get. Because I'm like, we're crafting this message, and it's really cool, and then we send it and no response. And then the last one, we send it again, and it's like, huge response. We're like, whatever we're saying, that's what they like. So let's just do that, instead of trying to, you know, change it. So you gotta learn what's working and what's not, okay? All right, so another form of popular marketing is guerrilla marketing. So I don't know if any of you have a guerrilla marketing, but depending on your context, you know, this is kind of good for. So guerrilla marketing was a concept of saying that if, for example, we looked outside and somebody sets up a tent out there that is really catches the attention of everyone in the area, in a high traffic area, people would stop. They did this a lot in New York City, to just like do things that are like out of the box, to surprise the audience, giveaways, you know.
Yeah.
So if you have that opportunity, I know in trade shows you can get some space in a trade show if you have that opportunity. That's, you know, one way. Trade shows have a little, you know, it's again exposure, you know. Not a whole lot is going to convert into sales. But guerrilla marketing can be easily done outside. It can be in a high traffic area of your product where people are coming and going, you know. Something I can share with you that's funny, like because of operating from a lean model, right? I've done the situation where I've gone to a trade show and not paid for the desk, but I have a tons of the handouts. And we've actually stood by the door and other people are walking out, we're passing them out. People are like, what's this? Oh, no. You know, so and
so
it's
you got
great.
kicked out.
No, we just kept going to the next one. Let's go to this one now. But I mean, we gotta be creative, right? And so anyway, anything like that you can be creative with, it's gonna be great. But guerrilla marketing, if you can, in social media, it can be a video, like a YouTube video that's really catchy. People do that, and you can distribute that video to send a message. If it's you talking, it's very powerful. Like about the messaging, your mission, your purpose, you know, what motivates you, what impact you're trying to make. A lot of times that's impactful to people to get them on board. So, okay? All right. So I mean, I know on Instagram, there's a lot of that going on. But it just depends what goes into Instagram. But if you think of like really flashy advertisements, very rich media content, that's a form of guerrilla marketing to catch the attention, basically. Catch attention, yeah. Okay. All right. So now we have this funnel that I just wanted to go over to understand like what are the different phases. So we talked about the earned and paid media. So there we're trying to implement some of the strategies that we talked about. And I'm gonna give you a spreadsheet that has a list of some of those, so you can use that, okay? But it's a brainstorming exercise of like what works for my business in the platform, in the context that I operate. We're trying to acquire the customers, and acquiring it just means like what you said. As long as I get something, I've acquired that customer. As long as I get an email address, that's a win. Celebrate it. Yeah. It's this path to a sale, I call it, instead of like, oh gosh, we didn't sell anything, people are just clicking. No, clicking is good. What do we need to do to move them down the funnel? Okay, we'll talk about that. So acquiring is important. That's the first activity. What can I do? That's why I asked you the question, and those were great answers. On my landing page, can I get a feedback form set up immediately? Can I get more information? Newsletter. Well, how can people, I can get people to get more awareness of the business, which is this acquire phase. Okay. Once I have them in, then I need to think of activation. How do I activate them? Okay. What's my pricing strategy? What's my additional promotion strategy? How can I follow up on them? How can I follow them to then get a follow-on contact with them to get them to purchase, to move them down a funnel? Maybe the free model might work, moving them to a premium model once you get them in. You're pushing them in. But this phase here is the most difficult one to acquire them. Once you get that awareness built out, then start pushing them into the funnel. Okay? Now we get into the keep customers, and we don't talk about this too much. The idea is that once we get a customer in, we want to keep those customers engaged. Okay, this is what builds true business value. And the earlier on that we learn how to do that, the more we can create actually evangelists and people that believe in the business that can be our evangelists later on. Okay, so we want to stay with them. If they purchased, we want to make sure we have the proper programs in place that do support. The outreach programs and the updates they need to get. We need to kind of work out a little bit of those gains. In a startup phase, we're not going to have it all figured out, but we have to have some sort of operation that we can nurture those customers so they can stay with us. And maybe they're giving us feedback. They're giving us feedback about what works and what doesn't, and we bring that into our cycle. Okay? And loyalty programs are great. If you can say, if you're a customer for this long, you get this discount. If it's a subscription model, you get this. Those kind of things are great. Then from there, we move into growing the customer, and this is great because that's when we upsell, cross-sell, anything else we can sell to them, sell more to them, extend the contracts, anything we can do. In my business, we want to keep them on forever and keep them using us for more and more resources. In my other business, it was like we did a contract for 10 months to implement a system. We want to do another contract and keep building on. Okay, more offerings. Okay. Questions, thoughts?
I don't know, just thinking about, I think we're in obviously the acquire phase.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah.
So yeah, it's we're coming out of the beta testing. We've got some initial customers, a lot of beta testers,
Good.
that I want to try and convert over to customers.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah, so I think one thing we're focusing on right now is just building up, we have Wix actually for our webpage.
Yeah.
Building up our web pages and trying to get some targeted.
In Wix? On Wix, is it?
Yeah, and just trying to get some targeted web pages towards different segments of customers. Because right now it's very, it's very vague.
Yeah, general, landing, yeah.
So trying to put some use cases of like, this is why you would use this technology for this process or for this, and then trying to link it with like a YouTube video or something like
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're thinking of trying to how to grow it. And to get these acquire and get these customers is by doing these kind of tailored solutions to each type of customer.
Mm-hmm.
So like a small business owner, we're going to try and kind of start with our solutions there, just because it will be easy for them.
Mhm.
You know, it works really well with them. For us to get to an enterprise customer, we have to build up some more protocols.
Of more features.
And it's just the sales process is much longer too. It's like a 6-month sale, I mean, sales, so you can understand how long it takes. So we think it'll be easier to convert small businesses.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's more complex in a complex
Yeah.
sales situation. Yeah, yeah.
And easier to skin your knees onto.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
is there anything, you know, if there's bugs or something doesn't work out?
Absolutely,
it's not
absolutely.
that
No, I was
much
gonna
of a
say,
loss.
I was gonna add, so this, what we're talking about here, thank you, that's great,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, what we're thinking about here, and depending on where you're at, which we're all startups, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
We're talking about an initial customer set. Okay, so that initial, it seems like you already have some customers that have been testing the product. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we really are trying to get after an initial customer set that we can sell to immediately. Okay, that we can have some initial purchase orders. Okay, before we then scale up to a broader piece of the market. So as you see this, you're gonna have that vision, right? As you move through the market into your share of the market, your serviceable market, and your total addressable market as you're moving up. But you're starting with a very confined group of customers that, like you said, that number one, either they trust you or it's safe for you to mess up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So if it doesn't work exactly right, I'm not at scale. I'm not like all over the place, sending all sorts of press releases that everybody knows that will sink me. I can just kind of iterate, make the adjustments, and then move on to the next release. Okay?
Yeah, and they've been important they've been giving us feedback.
Feedback, yeah.
Improvements in
It's a feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's great. So definitely do that. This initial customer said, we want to get into a place where we have book purchase orders. Okay? Now to get those orders, what we're saying is that we're going to talk about some techniques here where we're trying to activate them.
Yeah.
So you're going to try different things, and then you're going to say, what works? What's repeatable? Once it's a repeatable model, now I have a repeatable sales model, then I can start pushing out the market into my share of the market. This will be more people. And I press the pedal on more campaigns and more paid media maybe.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So definitely the idea here is we're starting from with nothing into something big,
Yep.
and then we're starting from something tiny, and then we're like seeing it evolve. It's like a butterfly. It's like it's coming out, and it's beautiful. And it's gonna be beautiful. No, it's gonna be, but yeah, that's what I wanted to. That's how I asked you that, because this here is our vision, and it's a model that we use because we need to activate customers, and then we want to bring them in. But we want to work with a confined segment that is very, very small that we can manage in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay? To test the strategy. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So we talked about this. We have qualified leads. And then we want to move them to a purchase. If you can get registered people in, that's important. Once we get them to the purchase, we want to keep them in as loyal customers, right? Now we might mess up. Again, if we're still in the beginning stage, we know what we need to do there. We're gonna have the iterations of the product, but we want to keep that tuition low. And then physical channels, meaning like if somebody's selling, I don't think anybody is here like through retail or something like that. It's the same thing, but it's more awareness, interest, and then consideration. But it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same concept.
We're all
Yeah.
online. So.
Yeah. Which is great. Okay. Okay. So now, acquiring and activating the customers, right? So this is getting to this concept of customer validation that it's not what we're talking about here. We're trying to validate that customers actually will purchase the product. We have a vision. We think it will work. We have already developed something. We have some beta testers. Can customers pay the price that we think they're gonna pay that will be a profitable business model for us? And are they really gonna buy? Okay, that's customer validation. Once we do that, then we can move into additional spend. Then we can move into additional advertisement. But we want to manage that piece until we can exit that situation, and I'll go through that now. So customer validation, what we want to do is turn the hypothesis into facts. So we think customers will buy. Will they really buy? What techniques can I use to get them to buy? I want to make sales to early evangelists. So early evangelists are this initial customer set that are like, if I can get an initial set of customers that can then take me into the market, if I can get an initial set of customers that can then become reference, an initial set of customers that can become ones that can give me constant feedback, okay? That can become part of the product development process. That's what I'm looking for at this phase, okay? We want to constrain spending, okay? Cash is king. Without cash, our business is done. And we don't have to spend a whole lot of our time on these things, guys. It's just a matter of doing smart marketing, targeted marketing, messaging, things like that. So it doesn't have to be big budgets. The days of big budgets and big campaigns are done. Okay, that's not entrepreneurial marketing anymore. Even the big names, I'm not gonna do it today, but I have a video that talks about Facebook, Twitter, all of them. They started by doing nothing. There's no budgets. The problem is that when we go to school, they're all talking about the big marketing budgets, but that's not what we're doing. Okay, and then we want to prioritize what needs to be validated. It's important to understand that, right? So, am I talking to the right audiences? I think you said something like people were not responding in some way. Looking at those insights and changing, taking next action, fine-tuning it, prioritizing, because there's so much activity going on. We cannot have an anxiety to sell because, like I said in the beginning of the session, let's face it, that's kind of like the anxiety. We want to, like, is it going to make or break, right? So, but we need to prioritize what's most important right now. Potentially most important, obviously you need to think to this as founders, is like, let's get into this initial set that we can get in there an evangelist in. How can we get in there? It's not an easy answer, I'm not suggesting that it is, but it's that thought process, okay? And trying things out in a way that is economical, that doesn't break your bank.
Carly,
Yeah.
this is one of my soft spots because what I see so many new companies, entrepreneurs doing in technology, and Mary, I think you've done an admirable job of not falling into this trap, is they've got a great product, they're going to build it, they spend all of their money, they bootstrap billions of dollars, they get to the end of the runway, and the customers aren't there.
Right.
So at ideation is when you need to start this process.
Absolutely.
And I've turned green trying to talk to entrepreneurs to help them understand it. I'll do free consulting for them. No,
They don't get it.
It's my product's going to sell itself.
Oh my God.
I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know how much my customers, but they're going to spend years. And
It's
I've
terrible.
got 2 companies right now. They're got a great product, but they wouldn't let me consult them. So anyway, but I think Mary, you've done a good job
you have a good
in
start.
doing that along the way.
Yeah.
Well, and to your point, I thought we started with something that was different than what we have right now. And it's because we've beta tested for a long time. We've been beta testing since like November, and I would say we launched in March, but I would still say we're beta testing because it's still a very early product, and we're still getting lots of feedback into what can make it better.
Absolutely. No, I like that. So
Admirable.
yeah. So yeah. I mean, so that is extremely key. So this part of there's this customer discovery, which I think you're saying, and customer validation. Not to talk about leading launch too much, but it's early on after that ideation phase happens that I need to figure out, does the problem even exist? This is nothing. This is asking questions. This is actually doing service. Does the problem truly exist? Can I talk to the audiences that have the problem and they articulate it back to me as a problem that is significant enough that I will pay? And will they pay the dollars that I'm thinking they're going to pay? That's based on, we did this in the earlier session. Then we move to customer validation. Now that I know the problem does exist, that people do have this problem, will they pay? Will they actually buy? Will they buy any of them at a small scale, like you're doing, at a small scale? And then I'm going to iterate the first release. I'm going to get feedback, like a beta tester, call it MVPs, And if you heard of MVPs, minimum viable products. Then I do another minimum viable product, and then release the second release, and so on. These are small launches, like you said, product launch, but the real launch might happen 6 or 7 iterations later. That's the big one. That's the big one. That's when we're going to go showtime. Now at this point, we have a repeatable process. We tested the sales process. We think it's going to work. We think we have the channels set up to get people to get it out to the market. Let's push, and there might be more spending at that point, and that's like a major release. Okay.
And we're not pushing and that's where I'm still kind of developing this whole strategy. And I think all these videos and web pages, once we have those all designed and ready and focused on our target market of where we're going to start, then we can do a big push.
Yeah, take your time.
But I don't want to
it's just-
push right now too until we're not, because the team decided they wanted to do an Android app, they just did the Android app, because it was a web-based version on
Okay.
your phone, and now they're working on the iPhone app. So we
Okay.
kind of like slowed down, so we released a couple versions
Mhm.
now, probably like 3 or 4,
Yeah.
honestly. They've done a lot. But that's where it's tricky with the sales. So you want to start getting sales and getting customers, but you don't want to push too hard because you're not quite sure how ready your product is.
Right,
for the
but
market.
you want to get some initial sales if you can into that small
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because that will validate that there's a product market fit. Once people
Yeah.
are willing to put money, and even if there's a little bit of bugs, things like
Yeah.
that, they really validate that you can then think of additional spending and move into more demand creation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in your case, do you have a confined market that you can also think of, that you can go after?
Well, yeah, the market is a nonprofit organization.
Okay.
And initially the thought was, Dallas Fort Worth,
Mhm.
that's where I'm
Mhm.
known. But then COVID, yay, COVID.
I know.
And doing so much online, it's like, so one of the other free things I do is speaking engagements for my professional association.
Okay.
I have chapters all over the place.
That's great.
And so I've got, so these speaking engagements, I'm not so sure that it was as fabulous as an idea as I originally thought it was, but it still gives me practice time.
Absolutely.
basically, to be a public speaker. But I'm speaking to a group in Arizona, Arkansas, Oklahoma, actually not so much Texas, I don't understand that. But anyway, so that has given me a chance to, again, practice this skill set that I don't really have yet as far as public speaking.
Yeah, public speaking, yeah.
I don't know that that's gonna really lead to clients, but I don't know, I've been doing this a year, so, there's a lot I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like you can build a lot of awareness by being in that.
Definitely build the awareness.
Well, yeah, and I was just thinking too, so I'm the finance chair for a mom's group, it's called Moms, and here at Wilshire Church, and it brings all the different moms from all different faiths around. We just got a mom's group. So I do fundraising, which I'll have to do it next year, or I guess, next year I will have to do that. So one thing that could be helpful, but we wouldn't have a lot of budget, but I'm sure there's all these little groups, just nonprofit little groups that are associated with churches, schools,
Yeah.
or anything like that. Like there's always at my kids' school, they're always doing a fundraiser for something. So if there's some way you could do some sort of conference and invite some people who could pay a reasonable fee, to join of how to do your fundraising
Right.
for that year, for your upcoming
I've
year.
actually thought about doing, and actually, the thought led to this Center for Nonprofit Management, but yeah, I would love to be able to do that. One of the, so in response to your idea is, I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
I don't know that these groups exist, first of all, and then, deciding what to offer.
Yeah.
But those are both things that can be figured out.
Right.
Yeah, I would,
Yeah.
that would definitely be something, it's kind of like an entry level maybe thing
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
for people who, maybe they serve on other boards, and find something.
Every
Yeah.
PTA group.
Yeah,
I was just thinking we're always needing to do fundraisers, so
make sure I
it
get
might
your
be-
email. and
Yeah,
you can-
sure.
just another kind of example of trying to, identify with some groups is, I got my WBE certification last November. The thought that, all of those women in that program, they all have widgets or something that they sell.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but my thought was, if you're a woman and you're an entrepreneur, you're probably also doing some volunteer work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, since I work mainly with nonprofits, to me that seemed like that would be a fabulous networking
Mhm.
opportunity. I don't know yet because it's only been, about 6 months now, I guess. I still think it's a good idea. It still hasn't borne any fruit yet. But
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out where to put myself. I joined my local chamber of commerce here in
Well,
the
that's
city,
great.
and that would
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah.
But Anyway, so yes, that's a great idea, and I would love to know more about how to do it.
Yeah, I think it'd be a way to help you spread, so if you have some classes set up, maybe at strategic times, like right before school starts, or, you know, right before the spring, you know, so there's like the fall and the spring sessions that we have. So maybe some like strategically timed events that you have set up and plan, and then spend the year with all these, you know, training sessions that you're doing that are free, and some other times, and just have some like affordable price points, so some for like us, that would be these groups where we basically sponsor our time, to larger nonprofits, you know, just like different levels of.
Yeah, great, let's talk more.
Yeah, you know, and I was gonna say, you know, what you're doing is great. I mean, that's what we do. We have to network as much as we can, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Network as much as we can.
Yeah.
We have to get into as many of those as we can. You know, within reason, right? And you measure, like you're saying, you still don't know, measure them and see. And then, you know, a lot of things just kind of start taking their course, you kind of figure out, find your rhythm, and somewhere, like you're saying, you know, maybe these people are more, you know, where I need to be involved. And you'll be involved in several. I'm just sharing that because I've done the same thing. I've been in local chambers, and a lot of times none of them have any fruit. But the more you're out there, the more your chances, right? You just gotta figure out where to go and where are the strategic places. And these kind of conversations are great. Yeah, okay. So customer validation exit, meaning once, you know, if we have some initial sales, we have to ask ourselves, can we start scaling the business? Can the business start scaling? Is there a repeatable process that I know how to sell? How about learn how to sell? Do we think that we know enough about the selling process? The campaigns that we're running, you know, whatever fronts we have, our pricing, they're not gonna be perfect, but do we have enough that then we can then move on and spend more in advertising on our campaigns? And is it predictable? You know, do we think that if I do this activity, I'm getting a 3% return on people coming into the site? If I do this, if I go to this show, I'm getting a 2% conversion into sales. Okay? So that's kind of the exit strategy from this phase.
What do you think so I recently read there's like some networks where you can put your technology solution there, and they take like a 20% referral fee. What are your thoughts on something like that?
I mean, depending on your pricing strategy, if you can take that off, you know what I mean, and from a revenue perspective, those are great.
Yeah.
Those are great. Those are the great distribution channels. Any aggregator or software marketplace or anything like that,
Yeah.
referral sites, any of those are perfect. So, and I've used some of those.
Okay.
Yeah, I've used those. Yeah. Just kind of make sure when you develop that channel that, you know, it sounds like you already know that you take that into account for, you know, what's the cost of joining versus how much I'm gonna get and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Some of them are really good at doing more of the marketing for you, and they got more visibility, so you kind of want to think through that.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, there's not an easy answer of where to be, but we gotta figure out to push the buttons in all these areas to what we think we're gonna generate the most sales. Okay. A lot of times we've got to put ourselves in different places, but we need to have a campaign that if we know what that target is, we gotta go to the places where those customers are, or reach out to them through the email blast. You know, any campaign you can do to get in front of them. Like for example, for us, we have like a weekly or bi-weekly or so that runs, and you know how it can be annoying. People are like, I keep getting these emails, but don't get too concerned about that. I call it peripheral. You need to turn it into a peripheral vision. Because I don't know if you've been in this situation, you get an email, you're like, I don't have time right now. And I get an email, I don't have time. Actually, I need that right now. And then you click. So most consumers have that situation, unless it's a product that is like not even solve a problem. But if you already know that you're solving a real problem, you know, you want to stay in front of those customers. We get so much thrown at us all the time that we just got to stay out there, okay, in front of the customer. So, okay. So your product positioning or pitch, you probably already have that, but having, you know, what's the value proposition of your product, right? What's the value it brings to the customer? What's your messaging? You probably have on your website, you know, we provide high quality, you know, document management systems, we streamline processes, whatever that tagline is, it's important to kind of test that and say, is it resonating? Is it something that can spread? okay, in the very beginning. Then we can create our activate, acquire and activate plans. The MVP, I think you already have somewhat of an MVP. In your case, it will be like what the offering would be like, so we can try to put that in front of customers, okay? And test it, and say, is there, and then the metrics tool set, like I said earlier, is that we want to measure everything all the time, either through Google Analytics or any other mechanism, so we can say what's working and what's not working, okay? All right. So the acquire plans. So here's where we're gonna try to put all these get strategies in place. So an acquire plan might look like this. So I might make a budget and a list, right? And say I'm gonna do an email blitz. Who's gonna do it? Okay. What's gonna be in that email blitz? Some people have a pretty extensive list of people already. They can reach on an email database, or I can just buy multiple email lists. And then we go through the activities. We're going to set up the mass mailing, and we're going to test email blast it to a small set, and then we're going to launch it.
Where do you buy email lists?
So I can give you some names, like there's Hoovers and different companies that do this, and I can give you, maybe write it down for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can research them, But yeah, they're like leads databases, things like that nature that you can. And usually what you want to do is, what they'll do is say, tell me your criteria. Hoover is great because Hoover, you can do it right there, on Hoovers. It's done on BrassTrack, so you can just kind of like type the criteria, but they have a subscription model, so, okay?
How current is that, though?
They have like I would say like about 80% of it is pretty good. It just depends on the source. They're already careful on some of them, yeah. So the way that, for an email blitz, the way that we run the blitz is that most of them, if they give you a list, anything that bounces, you get credit for. So like, they said, oh, okay, those didn't work because people moved or whatever, they should give you credit for that. And then you kind of build on the list by measuring the response, right? The response from the customers through Wix and everything, and then you can fine tune the list. So say, okay, well, those are not responses, so I'm going to inactivate those. And Wix does it automatically, actually. If they go into spam or not responding, it just removes them. So your list becomes something more targeted. Okay? Amazingly enough, optimizing the search is important nowadays because people are searching so much on Google. So optimized search is something to think about. Okay? There's companies that do that, but I can also give you tools on Google that you can do that yourself. Okay? Because we don't want to spend any money. But you can do that. So a lot of times people, we're on Google all the time. People are like, okay, let me find these out or whatever. So that can be useful depending on the context you're in. Manipulation campaigns, and these are just some examples. Those are reserved to when you're already at a point that you're exiting customer validation, that you've had some initial success, and you feel like you can do a press release. Okay. The press release, best to be with a customer testimonial, right? So in the press release, usually the ones that we've done, we have someone that has a little 2 lines, CEO, whatever company, or end user, or whatever. And then you can start building that into your website and your storefront and everything. But press releases can be great. There's definitely a cost. They are actually not that expensive nowadays, okay? Yeah, they're not super expensive nowadays. It just depends what channels you want to reach, okay? So AP Press and those,
You can do a free one too. I did a free one.
You did a free one?
Yeah.
And how did it go on?
So I would say, not a lot of people clicked on it, but I did share it on my LinkedIn and I got some decent amount of clicks from that.
Yeah.
And it also helps with picking up our name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because right now we have a problem with when you search my company, for some reason it doesn't find the website, which is not good. So
That's a search engine problem, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some sort
Optimization,
of issues with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So let me ask a quick question. So who gets press releases anymore? I mean, newspapers are pretty much dead.
Yeah,
Where do you send them?
it's going to go through online channels. So people get them, I get them at times, and they go into forums and industry forums. Yeah. So people still get it, And like you said, once you have that piece of material, it becomes a marketing collateral that you can just push through whatever you want, and it makes it kind of a little more formal. Like, we're officially out. Here's the product. Here's what it's doing, or it's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna make another one, just through the freeway, about the app and just announce that
Yeah.
we made an Android app
Yeah.
now, and just do some regular and then post it to the social media
Yeah,
pages.
yeah. So it's a lot of social media nowadays, and it's for any announcement like that, you want to create
Have
excitement.
something on the social.
Yeah.
Just never know.
Yeah. And then, leading into that is the social media campaigns, like, postings, which can be free, and then there's also the pay-per-click, and there's also social media ads that you can pay for. You don't have to do that, but like Google Ads, will advertise your business and things like that. But eventually, as you scale, you're gonna need these things, right? You're gonna need a little bit more of a marketing budget, a marketing campaign. In the beginning, we're working with means at hand, things that are affordable, and then just reaching the audiences that we need to reach immediately for the initial set. So, okay. All right. So those are the descriptions of each one of those columns. Now from the activation plan to activate the customers, one thing that is important, and I think some of you have that, is that whatever your distribution channel is, if it's online, that the landing page is really important when the customer comes in. So you want to capture them somehow as soon as we can. People are trying to figure out, why am I here? And then that's the first question that comes to mind. And we want to make sure that we answer, they want me to buy this new offering, or they want me to do X, Y, Z. That is very clear, it's very simple, straightforward. A lot of times it's so basic that people are like, I don't even know what I'm going to get, What makes it special, okay? So what is your key differentiator that makes you so unique that will be compelling them to activate, okay? Pretty much what are your features and so on. And then if there's a demo that you can do, or there's, like I said, if you're building quotes from customers, or anything like that, goes a long way, okay? So the landing page is where activation most likely will begin when somebody goes and finds you, okay, on our website. And then for me, this is important, and you talked about free trials, which is great, but I like to put pop-ups that, say, click here for an offer, or click here for a free trial, or click here for more information. Something that's media rich that people would engage them and keep them in there, okay, to move through a sale. And then finally move into a buyer sign up. I don't know if you've seen that. It's like, okay, well, now the next step will be to buy after the trial, or if you do these steps, What we do on ours, something that we do is we have a multi-step process where somebody can click for more information, and you just ask them questions, and we've gotten pretty good response. They're not committing to buy or anything, but it's giving us information on what they need, and then we can contact them. A lot of times they might say, we're not interested, we're just kind of curious, and that's good, we're just going to keep them. But other times that's led into situations where they're like, yeah, we're actually interested, we'd like to learn more. So, okay. All right, but activation has to happen many ways, right? So on the page is the join now, offers, things like that. Off the page is follow-up. So if I have someone that comes and tries to inquire about us or learn about us, we want to keep a follow-up loop with that person or with that customer to bring them in, okay? And what we're going to offer them. Now, the idea with the plan, like I said, this is all about the idea of testing and experimenting, is that we're going to try something for a period of time, whether that's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, then we're going to see what was the result. And do we continue that campaign? Do we continue phone follow-ups? If we get this kind of conversion, then it means that we're okay. If not, we need to change something, okay? So that's really important to be looking at our plan, not just to do a plan, but it's more of an action plan. It's something that we're doing as we're going, right? We lay it out, and then we're going to put it to practice, and we're going to monitor it, okay? And it is just saying, just kind of like that funnel. We want to get them from visitors all the way to paying customers and staying users. So we just move them down that funnel. I always think about it as a funnel, okay? If we can, yeah.
Really, just 1 out of every 100?
I mean, that's how hard it is. I don't know if we're more successful, but yeah. It is an example of, you gotta get a lot of visitors, a lot of people coming in, and it's gonna narrow down. And that's why it's important to keep those guys. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then the MVP, but I'm not gonna, I just wanted to mention that if you have your offering, then the idea would be to start showcasing it or getting feedback so you can start modifying it and so on. Okay? So we're doing all the time. Let's see.
Are you gonna have these slides available?
You know what? That's a great question. I was gonna ask them because I thought you would, but I'm gonna let her know. And if not, I can get your emails and I'll email them to you all. But I thought that this should probably.
They said
provide.
they would be in the other workshops, I would assume.
They would? Okay, perfect, yeah. Okay, the metrics tool set, just very quickly, we already talked about this, but anything we can get, and again, this is not to overwhelm ourselves, it can be overwhelming, but we just want to measure any of these strategies that we're doing and see what are we getting out of it? How are people coming in? There's an example of a dashboard of Google Analytics, and like I said, if we run a campaign here, we saw a peak, so that's good. We know we can repeat that. We saw a drop, so this one we're gonna have to revisit, that kind of thing. So it just keeps us lean, it keeps us moving down the path of more action. It's not gonna be a perfect system, but we can at least know what things are resonating with customers when we try something. Okay.
Do you think though that, is it just the messaging? Would it be the time of the year, the time of day,
Absolutely.
whatever?
Yeah, so many things come in. The messaging important in terms of is there anything we can change in our message, right? I always think of that. But also, are we going to the right places? Are we not hitting the right audiences, right? Is it cyclical? Is this not the time that people are going to be buying? So we gotta take all that into account. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Okay. So we have, it seems to be like this session is longer, but let's see. So I'm gonna ask them to also send you this. I'm sure because all my slides are here and all my workshop material will be there. But this is like an acquired activation plan. And certainly you could build this yourself. I put it in a spreadsheet format already. This is for us to build on. But what I would recommend is that you start thinking of, from this discussion, if you think of that, just get, the acquire and activation activities, from a get perspective, what do I need to do? That will be the acquire. And if you have the email blitz, you ask the question and I can give you some pointers. Start thinking of what campaigns can I run, which ones are free, which ones are not, and then what's the length of that campaign, and how am I going to measure it, okay? And a lot of, so I'm kind of both ways. I use automated tools and I use old school tools. I kind of intuitively know from the responses that I'm getting, either via email conversations and things like that, or what's working sometimes. So it depends on your context. This is highly professional services, so it happens that way. People are so the more I interact with people, the more I know, the more I can ask them about something, what they're looking for, and so on. In a way, you wanna be testing. If you haven't done so, I'm sure you are, but your pricing strategy, right? Your distribution channel is the product getting to the people the right way. So I always think of the four P's, right? So we have we're trying to test the pricing strategy. We're trying to test our promotion strategy. We're trying to distribution channels. Okay.
And I have a question too.
Yeah.
So we have this free plan set up, and when someone
yeah, I'm going around. Yeah.
So when someone comes to the website, my tech guys haven't turned it on to a buy now type of thing. It takes you to a contact me.
Is that contact me right now or buy now?
It's contact me.
Contact me.
Yeah, because they are pushing for some improvements, and they want to wait till those improvements are through
Sure.
before they change it.
Yeah.
So right now, the sales that we have are from sales that have dropped up. They haven't been from the website. No one hits the contact me. So I just don't think anybody ever wants to hit that. They want to buy a signature and document editor tool. They don't want to hit contact me. They just want to buy it.
Yeah.
So is that? That's my feeling.
Yeah.
We're getting some visitors to the website, but not like, a large, but I haven't done a huge push yet.
Yeah.
So, but I want all of that to be set up before I do start doing a big push to the website.
Yeah. No, so my sense, and the business, the context is that you are right, in the sense that contact me, psychologically, people nowadays, and there's so much of that going on, that I want to be having to be called and sold to and whatever. Then what we can put in front of the customer from a distribution channel, the easier we can make it, the faster and the better.
Plus all the competitors are doing that.
Exactly.
All the competitors have, so all they have to do is they go to our website and, or they have to talk to somebody, or they can go to someone else's and just buy it.
So it sounds like you're already working on it, but that would be really important, because what we want to do is, I always say the question when we talk about distribution channels, what is the existing purchasing behavior? What is the customer used to doing?
Yeah.
If the customer is used to something, you can disrupt that if it's more innovative, but if you're like out in left field and they're used to doing it one way, they're gonna be like, I'm not gonna buy it there, I'll go here because it's easy, right? So yeah, definitely. So we're testing these elements, right? Like our pricing, we're testing our promotion, we're testing our distribution channels. It seems like you have some data already through these activation plans, okay, and acquire plans. And then, so that's the, this one is the activation plan. So the acquire plan will be like all your campaigns to attract them to you, right? We talked about that. And then the other spreadsheet is making a list of saying, like you're saying, you're gonna have the, instead of contact me, let's change that to buy now. Join now, yeah. Join now button. Is it a blink? I mean, it can get kind of like extreme, but I can give you some ideas. Just psychologically, these things is so media rich nowadays that just something blinking kind of catches somebody to at least look, as soon as they click, okay? So whatever works for you. There's one that says, of the homepage, I will follow up, which I've done this, and they say, hey, we're gonna give you a free offer to try the product, and then we're gonna test to see how that responds, which I think is going to some response. The second test will be, we're gonna do that a limited way. Now we're gonna give them, the offer for 60 days, and then we can go from there and see how can we move them down the path, okay? But the fact that somebody wants to do anything free, I still see value in that, because people will not care, But what we have to say, do you care enough that you will pay, and how much would you pay for it? That's the acid test there, okay? All right. So these spreadsheets, I think they're gonna be loaded with the material, so you're free to use them. And then the slides, you can use that to build your activate and acquire and activate plans. But I think you're all, I think we're all in the same boat, right? We have to say what are the strategies that we can put in place now, right? That are some of them are actually quite simple. They don't have to be very elaborate. They don't have to be very expensive. We can put them in place now, and then we can start monitoring, testing, see what works, and then iterate, and then go to the next one, and so on. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're like, it's like 3:15, so it's 3:13. So I made it.
Very good.
Every time they've been knocking over here. Yeah. So this time I've got organized. I said, we can organize. We start early. But I'll be here if you guys have any questions. If you want to talk about your business in particular, I'm gonna be hanging around. Give you more specifics. I'll give you the names of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the next session? Is it open mic something? What does that mean?
Yeah, everybody's all together. and
Yeah, we're all together.
got kind of Q&A, questions, answers, kind of like we've been doing. And another thing that is a good sales channel is their partners. If you have anyone that does parallel business, and actually I have a friend that is a CPA for nonprofits,
Oh,
and he's local. I'll be glad to
that's an
connect
idea.
y'all.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't know if you've heard my name, but I've heard your name before from Nancy.
yes,
And from Jean. I don't know.
Nancy and I, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Nancy and I are good friends. When she was at Addison Treehouse.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So one thing there that's thank you for bringing that up. So strategic partners are huge, right? So from a distribution channel perspective, we have strategic alliances where people we complement their service or their product, and then, you know, we'll sell each other. Basically, it's kind of almost like a referral, but it's also a channel. It can be definitely a channel for you. So strategic alliances, key partners are very important. If you have something, in the case of software, you can also have a reseller program where you have somebody else sell it for you. You know, they sell it for you. And I've done that as well. So that's another way. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got one I want to talk to you about.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it
Thank you.
with having you guys, and good luck with everything. You're gonna kill it.